Welcome to the Cheating Secrets channel. The alarm clock rang at the usual time, 6 a.m., and my wife Anita and I got up to start our day. I groaned loudly as I sat on the edge of the bed and lowered my feet to the floor. "What's wrong?" "You're groaning like an old man," she teased, heading to the bathroom. "I feel like an old man after what you did to me last night." I heard her laugh in the bathroom, recalling the previous evening. She had been very energetic that night. Today, she was leaving on a business trip and would likely be gone all week, leaving me home alone. I was not looking forward to it. I heard the shower running and thought about joining her, but then decided against it. She had taken too much out of me the night before. When I later returned to the bedroom, she looked lively, while I sat feeling sorry for myself. "Come on, old man. Get up and go. We need 2 breadwinners to pay the mortgage on this place." All right, I'm moving," I said to her as I made my way to the bathroom to relieve myself and take a shower. Later, we met downstairs for breakfast before she headed to the airport and I went to work. Anita is a lawyer, and we both work at a medium-sized manufacturing company in St. Louis. She specializes in negotiations and travels with teams when they work off-site. This trip was for negotiations on a new subcontract with a major aerospace firm in Denver. She goes on such trips several times a year, each time being away for at least a week. She was 35 years old, and 12 years ago, she had graduated from State University with honors. Anita is very attractive, 163 centimeters tall, 57 kilograms, with beautiful feminine facial features and measurements of 86-61-89. I am madly in love with her and desire her immensely. My name is Jack Fillmore, and I work as an engineer at the same company as my wife. I am 37 years old, 185 centimeters tall, and weigh 75 kilograms. I play sports to stay in shape. We both love playing golf and often join our friends to form a foursome. We met at a company picnic, and for me, it was love at first sight. It must have been the same for her because, after a whirlwind romance, we got married 6 months later. We've been married for 7 years. And just 3 months ago, we bought the house we currently live in. It was the home where we planned to start our family, and Anita planned to stop taking birth control pills after she returned from this trip. We were eagerly anticipating starting a family, and she planned to be a stay-at-home mom until the kids went to school. Our parents lived in the area, and I knew they expected us to start a family soon. After breakfast, I loaded Anita's travel bag into her car and kissed her goodbye. She had tears in her eyes as she got into the car to leave. "Very soon, I hope I won't have to travel anymore, honey, so we won't have to say goodbye. I hate goodbyes." "I hate them just as much as you do, sweetheart," I reassured her. "I'll see you on Friday evening, and we'll just get takeout so you can relax." "Sounds good. Bye." I watched as she backed out of the garage onto the street, waving as she drove away. I then went back inside to finish getting ready to leave for the office. Upon arriving at work, I went up to the engineering department, grabbed a cup of coffee in the break room, and headed to my desk. I had barely sat down when the phone rang. "Fillmore," I answered. "Jack, could you come to my office for a minute?" "Sure, Evan. I'll be right there." Evan was my boss. I took my coffee and headed to his office. When I entered, he waved me to sit in a chair. "Jack, I think you'll like this. I remember you told me last Friday that Anita would be traveling this week, so I have a little trip for you if you're interested. Gil Hawkins, our maintenance engineer in California, is sick and can't handle a problem our client in San Jose is having with one of our models. You have more experience with this model than anyone else, so would you like to go to San Jose and check it out?" "Well, there's nothing special going on here right now, and you're right, I'm free this week. So when do you want me there?" "Right away. Let Kathy book your reservation and tickets, call the client to let them know you're coming, and find out what the problem is." "Sounds good. I'll take care of it." I started to feel a bit more enthusiastic about life. I can swing by home, pack my things, and fly out this afternoon. I'll be at the client's place in the morning. "All right, safe travels." Stopping by Evan's secretary Kathy's desk, I told her what I needed in terms of flights and reservations, then went to my desk to call the client and determine their issue before heading home to pack. On the way home, I smiled to myself because I had a plan forming in my head. If I finished quickly, I could surprise my wife by stopping in Denver on the way back. The prospect of spending a couple of days with her in Denver was becoming more exciting by the minute. While waiting for my flight at the airport, I called Anita on her mobile phone, but she didn't answer, so I left a voicemail saying I'd be staying with relatives for a couple of days and to call me on my mobile in the evenings. Everything went smoothly. I was at the client site on Tuesday morning, made the necessary equipment adjustments, and by noon, everything was tested and working satisfactorily. Back at the hotel, I called the airline and booked a flight that would get me to Denver by 9 p.m. local time. Checking out of the hotel in San Jose, I headed to San Francisco Airport, where I had dinner. While eating, Anita called me on my mobile, and we talked for a few minutes. She asked how my relatives were doing, and I replied as if I were staying with them. She told me the negotiations were progressing, but that she was tired and planned to have a quiet evening in her hotel room. We said our goodbyes with expressions of love, and after finishing my meal, I boarded my flight. At 9:45, I checked in at the hotel front desk for Anita's suite, and after verifying my identity, I was given a key card to her room. Quietly entering the room, I saw the lamp lit above the computer desk with her laptop on it, closed, but no sign of Anita. I placed my suitcase down and peeked into the bedroom, but it was empty, as was the bathroom. Well, I thought, she hasn't returned to her room yet. I'll sit and wait, or maybe go downstairs to check if she's there. Then I noticed the door to the adjoining room was slightly open. I approached it, and it quietly opened on well-oiled hinges. I looked around the living room of the adjacent suite, but saw no one. Perplexed, I stepped into the room and suddenly heard a moan from the bedroom. My gut tightened, and I broke into a sweat as I quietly approached the bedroom door. My heart may not have stopped, but my breathing quickened at what I saw in the dimly lit room. Anita was sitting on the bed, naked, facing me, straddling a man whose face I couldn't see. Her eyes were closed, and she was gently bouncing on him. My first impulse was to rush in and beat the guy half to death, but reason overruled emotion, and I slowly backed away from the door and returned to her room. Opening my suitcase, I took out the digital camera I had brought to take some souvenir pictures and went back to the door of the other bedroom. I turned off the flash and set the camera to low light mode, then calmly stood and took several pictures of the scene on the bed without attracting their attention. They were so engrossed in their activity that they had their eyes closed and were completely unaware of their surroundings. Before returning to her room, I checked the open briefcase on the desk, found a business card, and checked the name. Sam Harris, the lead negotiator for our company. I put the card in my pocket. Returning to her room, I took out the camera-to-computer interface cable that I carried with me and connected the camera to her laptop. Our laptops had the same photo software, so uploading the pictures from my camera and setting one as her desktop background was easy. Then I packed the camera back in my suitcase and quietly left her room. Before leaving, I heard her scream as she climaxed. I nearly broke down right there, but continued walking to the elevator. After returning my room key at the front desk, I called the airline to find out when the next flight to St. Louis was. Luckily, there was a 6:30 a.m. flight that would get me home by 9:30 a.m. If I was fortunate, I thought, that would be around the time Anita would open her laptop at the negotiation table. She would then realize she had been caught, and it would also make it clear to her that our marriage was over. Back at the airport, I checked into a nearby motel where I couldn't sleep, continuously replaying the scene I had witnessed in her hotel bedroom. I cried and let my suffering pour out in tears. When I left the motel at 5 a.m., I was still teary-eyed, my mind focused on ending our marriage as soon as possible. Arriving back in St. Louis, my mobile phone started ringing as I got into the car. Seeing that it was Anita calling, I turned it off and headed home. When I entered the house, the home phone was ringing, and checking the caller ID, I saw it was Anita again. Switching the phone to the answering machine, I listened as she sobbed into the phone. "Jack, please call me right now. I need to talk to you, honey. It's important." I ignored her tearful pleas, got up, changed clothes, then went and rented a truck, and returned home to start packing my things. If my calculations were correct, she would arrive around 4 p.m., and I wanted to be out of the house by then. It took a couple of hours, but I managed to move all my personal belongings to a rented storage unit. Before packing, I called our lawyer and arranged a meeting for the afternoon. After unloading my things at the storage unit, I met with our lawyer and asked him to start the divorce process immediately. I was tempted to cite adultery as the reason for the divorce, but I decided to go with incompatibility and save the adultery claim in case she decided to contest the divorce. I also asked him to draft a new will, naming my brother as the beneficiary. Stopping by the bank, I transferred half of our savings and remaining balances into new accounts solely in my name. Then I called my investment advisor and asked him to do the same with our accounts there. With a heavy heart, I drove to my parents' house. Taking my suitcase with me, I walked through the open door. My mother saw me first and exclaimed loudly, "Jack, where have you been? Anita has called here several times looking for you. Did you tell her you were staying here?" My father, who was already retired, came in, and I sat down at the table and explained everything to them. They were shocked when I told them about Anita's infidelity and that our marriage was over. I asked if I could stay with them for a few days until I found a furnished apartment, and they agreed. I think my calculations were pretty accurate because around 6 in the evening, as we were sitting down to dinner, there was a knock on the door. My father got up to answer it, and a minute later, he returned with Anita behind him, looking very upset. "Jack, why haven't you been answering my calls? I needed to talk to you. You moved all your things out of the house. I think the message I left for you on the desktop will tell you everything you need to know." "Oh God, I was so afraid it was you. Can we go somewhere and talk, honey? Please." "Anita, I'm no longer your honey, and I have nothing to say to you. I've already started the divorce process, and our lawyers can handle everything. What I saw in Denver destroyed any feelings I had for you, and I want you to leave so I can finish my dinner." "Oh, please, Jack, no. Please don't do this without talking to me. What could you possibly say that would redeem your infidelity? What I saw and have photos of was definitely not rape. You better call your lover Sam and tell him I'm coming after him next. Maybe his wife will take it better than I am." "Oh God, can we please talk? Please, Jack. Please leave, Anita. My dinner is getting cold. Here's what I'll tell you. Why don't you write me a long letter explaining how you can justify breaking your wedding vows? I'm sure a smart lawyer like you can articulate how this was somehow my fault and how you can still love and respect me." Sobbing, she turned away but glanced back before reaching the door. "Please, Jack, don't end our marriage without talking to me. Goodbye, Anita." After she left, my parents were still crying and sat there, stunned. "That was awfully cruel, Jack," my mother said. "Mom, do you want to see the photos I took of her with her lover? That's what's cruel. She has no respect for me, and I can't live with that or ever trust her again. Do you want me to have children with such a woman?" "I know, son," my father finally spoke. "Maybe, if things cool down a bit, you might see things differently." I knew my parents were very fond of Anita. "I don't think so, Dad. Let's talk about something else so I can digest my food." "All right, son." Anita. On Monday morning, as I left the house, I regretted having to leave Jack, but I thought about how wonderful it would be when I returned and we could start our family. We had waited so long to make sure we were financially and career-wise ready to become parents. Now, everything was almost in place. The trip to Denver went smoothly. I sat next to Sam Harris, our lead negotiator, and we chatted a bit about the negotiations for the next day and a little about what was going on with our families. He knew that once I got pregnant, I would leave my job, and he said he would miss me. Sam was 48 years old, had been married for 20 years, and had 2 school-age children. Sam and I had been a negotiation team since before I got married, and we were very comfortable with each other. The other 2 members of our team sat behind us, having their own conversations. When we arrived at the hotel in Denver, we checked into our rooms, and as we usually did, Sam and I got adjoining rooms. Initially, this was done to facilitate evening strategy meetings, but about 10 years ago, sex became involved, and we convinced ourselves it was a way to relieve stress after a long day of negotiations. At the time, we told ourselves it wasn't really cheating if it helped us at work. Sometimes, we laughed about it. Then, after Jack and I had been married for a couple of years, I started to feel uneasy, and we stopped. Finally, during particularly grueling negotiations, Sam asked if we could do it again to relieve stress and anxiety. I reluctantly agreed and quickly got swept back into it with him. The thrill of cheating and not getting caught significantly boosted my libido at home, so Jack benefited from it too, and I didn't feel as bad anymore. On the first evening of this trip, we didn't meet because I felt tired after dinner. However, after our first day of negotiations, I agreed to go to his room the following evening. I don't know when or how Jack found out or how he got the picture, but when I opened my laptop the next morning and turned it on, I was stunned by what I saw on the screen. Sam was sitting next to me, and when he saw it, he quickly closed the lid and asked his colleague across the table to excuse us for a few minutes. We took the laptop into the hallway. He was furious. "What kind of damn do you have on your desktop?" he asked. "I don't know, Sam. The last time I turned it on, it wasn't there." I was still in shock. "Let me look again." Opening it once more, we both looked at the picture. "Damn, that's you," he exclaimed. "Me? How could that be me?" "I don't know, but it's you, and underneath you, that's probably me, though you can't see my face." "Did you leave your laptop unattended yesterday?" "No, it was with me on the trip and in my room while I was in yours." "Could someone have gotten into your room with a camera?" "I don't think so. The door was closed, and I assume it was locked." "You need to go back to the hotel and try to find out if anyone was given a key card to your room last night. I'll handle things here. Try to contact Jack and find out where he was last night." "It couldn't have been him. I talked to him last night at his relative's place." "Did you call him on his relative's phone?" "No, he asked me to call his mobile." "Oh, no. I don't like how this sounds. He could have been anywhere when you talked to him. Call me on my mobile if you find out anything. Do everything you can to fix this. Take a cab to the hotel." "All right, bye." I broke into a sweat. If Jack took the photo and put it on my laptop, I had to assume it was a message that our marriage was over. I needed to get back to the hotel and find out what I could. The girl at the front desk called a cab for me, and 15 minutes later, I was back at the hotel. I first checked at the front desk to see if anyone had received a key card to my room. The clerk checked the computer and told me that Mr. Jack Fillmore had received a key card at 9:45 the previous evening. The card was returned half an hour later. That's when I realized that my marriage was probably over. The person I loved most in the world was gone, but I had to try to fight to get him back. Going up to my room, I immediately tried calling him on his mobile and at work. His mobile was off, but I left a voicemail saying it was important for him to call me as soon as possible. His secretary at work told me he had gone to California on business and was due back tomorrow. That was it. He had gone to California and stopped on the way back to surprise me. I guess we were both surprised. Calling his relatives, they said they hadn't seen him for a few days. I asked them to have him call me as soon as they could reach him. Calling home, I got no answer but left a message there as well. I sat in the room and cried. I had no way to talk to him unless I went home, so I picked up the phone and booked tickets to return to St. Louis on the next available flight. After packing my things, I called Sam on his mobile and told him what I had found out. He was silent for a minute before speaking. "Anita, I think we are both facing divorce or something worse." "What could be worse than divorce?" "In the company we work for, there's a policy prohibiting close relationships between senior employees. We could both get fired. That would look bad on our records." "Oh God, I should have known that, but as far as I'm concerned, losing Jack would be much worse. Losing my family would be terrible too, but you need to get back to St. Louis and find Jack. Maybe he will listen to reason. I've already booked tickets for a flight that leaves at noon. I need to be back there by 4:30. For my own sake, I need to find him and talk to him. I'll let you know how it goes. I'll have to stay here until the negotiations are over. I'll be waiting for your call." We said our goodbyes and hung up. Grabbing my bag and laptop, I hurried to the lobby, checked out of the hotel, and took a limousine to the airport. The entire way to St. Louis, I prayed that Jack would talk to me. I had to explain that it was just sex and it didn't affect him. I had to lay it all on the line, hoping he could see my infidelity as nothing more than meaningless sex. When I got home, I didn't notice anything unusual at first, but when I entered our bedroom, I saw that all his clothes and personal items were gone. I realized he knew everything and had left me. I needed to find him. After many fruitless phone calls, I finally decided to go to his parents' place to see if he was there, or if they had any idea where he might be. He was at his relative's house, and his reception made me sick from the callous cruelty. He told me that he was in the process of filing for divorce and did not want to talk to me, saying there was nothing I could say to change his mind. After sarcastically telling me to write him a long letter explaining my position, I left, got into my car, and cried. The family we had planned would never happen. We would never grow old together or share the joy of grandchildren. From a selfish standpoint, I was even more distressed by the thought that by the time I found another husband, I would be too old to conceive a child. Finally, I started the car and drove back to our empty house. Jack. After a sleepless night filled with visions of Anita and Sam together in bed, I got up early, went downstairs at my parents' house, and made coffee. Then I took my laptop and camera and started uploading the photos from the camera to the computer. I thought I should see if I could identify Sam in the pictures. Looking at the photos, I couldn't clearly see Sam's face, but then I noticed something on his right hand, which was reaching for Anita's chest. Zooming in, I saw what I needed. A tattoo, and zooming in further, I could see it was a heart with the word Marie. Sam's wife's name was Marie. That was all I needed. So I went back upstairs, took a shower, and got ready for work. When I came back down, my mom was already up and making breakfast. Later at work, I burned several CDs with the photos I had taken, including the one showing Sam's tattoo. I also printed several sets and put them all in a folder. Then I went to our HR department and asked for a meeting with the manager. Eventually, Phil and I met. Our company wasn't that big, and we played golf together. I took a set of photos from the folder and laid them out in front of him. "What are these, Jack? Pornographic photos?" He smirked. "Sorry, Phil, they might look pornographic, but that's my wife and Sam Harris, and the date and time stamps show they were taken on Tuesday evening in Sam's hotel room in Denver. They were there on a business trip for the company." "Damn, Jack, I'm really sorry. What do you want me to do?" "You can fire them both for violating the company's code of conduct clause in their contracts. We've never enforced that before. Are you sure you want to go through with this? It will bring their affair to light. I suppose this means you're planning to divorce Anita because of this? I've already instructed my lawyer to prepare the papers, but if you don't act on this, I'll sue the company." "All right, Jack. I'll refer this to our legal department and get the process started. Then I want to see my boss, Evan, to tell him what was happening in my life." He was appropriately horrified by what I told him about my wife and Sam Harris. When I asked for the rest of the week off as vacation, he readily agreed. Before I left, he congratulated me on the good work I had done during my trip to California. The client had called and praised me for how quickly I resolved their issue and got their production line back up and running. He also asked if I would consider taking on the job in California, as the current field engineer was retiring due to health reasons. I told him I would think about it and give an answer when I returned to work next week. As I was leaving Evan's office, his secretary Kathy stopped me. "Jack, your wife was here looking for you. She said she would come back later." "Kathy, under no circumstances do I want to see my wife. Please let her know that when she returns." "Oh my God, Jack. I'm so sorry. I didn't know there was a problem." "There's a big problem, Kathy. We're getting a divorce. She and Sam Harris were having an affair. I knew that by noon, everyone in the company would know." Kathy loved to spread gossip. Then I returned to my desk and called Marie Harris, Sam's wife. I knew her from company picnics and understood that my revelations about our spouses might be very hard for her to hear. "Marie, this is Jack Fillmore." "How are you, Jack? I talked to Sam last night, and he asked if there were any updates from you, but he didn't say why you might contact me." "Marie, we need to talk as soon as possible." "All right, Jack. Can you come over now? I have a hair appointment at 1 p.m., but I'm free right now." "Are you still living on Fremont Street?" "Oh, yes." "Great. I know where you are. I'll be there in 15 minutes." As I drove to the Harris residence, I was filled with dread about what I was about to do to this woman and her family. But I knew Sam had to face the consequences, and Anita had to make her own decisions. "Hi, Jack. Come on in. Would you like some coffee?" "I just brewed a fresh pot," she asked, inviting me into the living room. "That would be great, Marie. Just black, please." She returned a moment later with the coffee and sat down in a chair across from me. "So, what's this about?" I considered breaking the news gently, but decided it was best to get it over with quickly. "Marie, I caught your husband and my wife making love in Denver, and I'm pursuing a divorce from Anita and seeking to have them both fired. I hate to be the one to tell you this, but it will soon become public knowledge, and I wanted to prepare you. I have photos to back up what I'm saying, if you want to see them." I watched her face to gauge her reaction and was surprised by the lack of any real response. Jack, I guess I suspected he had been fooling around on his business trips for many years, but I hoped it wasn't true. Sam has always been a loving husband and father, and I didn't want to rock the boat, but I knew that someday something would happen, and their affair would become public. I suppose this is it. I sympathize with you and your marriage, and from my perspective, I'm sorry that Sam might get fired. He's getting older, and it may be hard for him to find another job that pays as well. Now I have to decide what to do. Do you want the set of photos I have? Yes, leave them, and I'll try to find the strength to look at them. I'm really sorry, Marie, but I couldn't let this go. Anita and I were planning to start our family, but I can't live with someone I don't trust or respect. The mother of my children needs to have both. I understand, Jack. Thank you for telling me. I wouldn't want to hear about it from other sources first. And let me say again how sorry I am for you and Anita. I'm sure she's as devastated and remorseful as Sam will be when he finds out I know about his affair. If it were just a one-time thing, it would be easier to forgive. But I believe this has been going on for years, and it's hard to accept now that it's out in the open. I have my pride, and I need to keep my composure. If there's anything I can do, let me know, I said as I left and headed back to my parents' house. It's been 6 months since I initiated the divorce process. This morning, I received a copy of the divorce settlement agreement with Anita. I never spoke to her or saw her again after she came to my parents' house. My lawyer handled everything. I gave her the mortgaged house with the expensive furniture and furnishings to waive all claims against me. Additionally, I removed my name from the mortgage. She took full responsibility for the payments. Of course, without a job, she had to put the house up for sale, and she lost money on the deal. She tried to contest the divorce, but I threatened to change the grounds to adultery and post the photos of her and Sam online if she didn't sign the papers within 48 hours. She signed them within the required time, and so today, I'm a free man. I guess she decided she didn't need me that much after all. In any case, she was fired from her job, but being a smart lawyer and negotiator, she found another job within a month, not earning as much and without the benefits her tenure provided at the old job, but I heard she's managing and dating again. Good luck to her new guy if she finds one. I wonder if she told him about our divorce and its reasons. Maybe I should enlighten him? Marie divorced Sam and cleaned him out financially. He also found another job after being fired, but he's struggling to pay alimony and child support on his new salary. I currently live in Santa Maria, California. It's a quiet place near the coast, halfway between the Bay Area and Los Angeles. This location allows me to work in both the southern and northern parts of the state. I moved here about 4 months ago and rent an apartment in a complex with other singles and young couples, most of whom are trying to save money for a down payment on a house. Housing here is expensive, and it takes a lot of money to buy on the market. I have a steady girlfriend who lives in the same complex. She is divorced, like me, but we are comfortable together, and I think we will see how things progress in the future. Since I travel so much, I really need to trust the person I marry, but I need to take that step before too much time passes if we want to start a family. Biological clocks keep ticking. Thank you for listening until the end. See you in the next episode of Cheating Secrets. Take care of yourself and your loved ones. Goodbye.